Hello guys, welcome to Effulgent Gaming. Welcome back with a brand new episode on the channel. So this is the first video with my commentary in English, and this video I'm going to explain the story mode of GTA 5. So without further ado, let's begin. 9 years ago, during the winter, we found a small bank being robbed in Ludendorff, North Yankton. It's a small town. We see three robbers: Michael Townley, Trevor Phillips, and Brad Snyder. They are busy taking the bank's assets. What should have been an easy hit turns into chaos as police forces attempt to stop them from leaving the area with the stolen goods. A fourth robber, who was the getaway driver, is killed during the escape, and the others, Michael, Trevor, and Brad, find themselves in dire straits down the road after crashing at a farm. This was never the part of the plan, or at least as it seemed then. Although they lost the heat, a sniper injures Brad and Michael while Trevor finds cover to take on the next wave of police. So both Brad and Michael are now injured. Trevor eventually flees into a snowy field, taking a hostage away with them, leaving behind Michael and Brad. Sometime later at a graveyard, a funeral is held for Michael, although Michael is shown outside the fence looking on, and the sniper is among the mourners. The sniper who shot Michael as well as Brad. Uh, Now we move on to 9 years later, a situation in Los Santos. Michael frequents a psychiatrist's office to discuss his crumbling family. He has family issues. He is now in witness protection under the FIB, Federal Investigation Bureau, who moved him and his family to Los Santos under a sweet deal in exchange for his help in North Yankton. So, initially I'll break down what happened, guys. Actually, what happened was we'll start from the point of view of Trevor. Trevor wanted to get a position as a pilot in US Air Force, but he was idiotically rejected for no reason because they had already chosen some other guy and there was some bribing involved in the business. And so Trevor was truly dejected as his true skill was ignored. So as he was crying and mourning over this event, he met Michael, who was another dejected guy. We don't know much of his background story. However, both of them now start pulling up heists and robbing banks. These two guys meet another third greatest psychopath called Brad Snyder, and the three of them form a great trio who eventually succeed in robbing all banks. They do so with the help of Lester, a guy who has a great guy's mind. He is a criminal mastermind. Although he is paralyzed, he can give valuable tips and advices and a great plan for any robbery. However, Michael has a family. He has a wife Amanda and two kids, Jimmy and Tracy. So, the growing concern for his family and his friends' psychopathic attitude worries him, although he himself is a little bit of a psychopath. So, family values bound him, and so he comes up with a plan. He confronts FIB agent Dave Norton, who acts as a sniper in the event. So this time there was no Lester in the North Yankton robbery. Michael was the planning agent, and he made the plan such that it would be easy for Dave Norton to snipe Michael and Trevor. Actually, that was their plan, to make it seem as if Michael died and to kill Trevor because Trevor was the greatest psychopath Michael felt. But the plan misfired as Brad took the shot, and so they had to quickly changed their plans. Brad went to the grave instead of Michael, and Trevor was made to believe that Brad was in jail. It was done by Dave Norton. So, coming back to the story, Michael is now undergoing frequent visits with a psychiatrist, and he is also living in a house provided by the FIB agents, mainly Dave Norton. He lives in witness protection for 9 years. So he fed Dave Norton a lot of information on thieves and made his career. And outside the office of the psychiatrist, Michael chats briefly with two gangbangers named Franklin and Lama who are looking for a house. These two repossess vehicles for a car dealer named Simeon Etarian who uses shady business practices to ensure customers cannot keep up with payments. This guy is like a kind of a fraud. So, although Franklin and Lama are close to Simeon, they are very close, but who likes to work with a cheat? He dreams of having leaving the ghetto and street gang life, bring them to begin stealing from him. Actually, Franklin and Lama begin stealing the repossessed vehicles, a bike which Franklin uses frequently in the game. During a routine repossession, Franklin finds himself taking a car from Michael, who has stored away in the rear seat. Michael takes a liking to Franklin's do what I'm told attitude and offers to have a drink in future after Michael wrecks Simeon's business. Michael actually threatens Franklin to ram through the dealership's front door, and in the result, Simeon's business is closed. Franklin and Lamar are now unemployed. Lamar takes to other business likings, and we do not get much of a story. However, Franklin takes up Michael on his offer of a drink. After saving Michael's son Jimmy from a trouble, actually it was kind of a boat business, yet Michael takes Franklin under his wing. One day Michael catches his wife's tennis coach cheating on him and chases him to Vinewood Hills home. It is sort of a stilt house. It was great and extravagant and lavish, the house. With the help from Franklin, Michael destroys half of the house and heads home. Later, he finds that the coach was actually hiding at the home of another client. Uh, he was teaching tennis to another lady. It was the home of that client, whose husband is a powerful gang leader named Martin Madrazo. He was a drug lord and a great guy, as Franklin says. He confronts Michael and makes sure the damage will be paid for. Michael contacts an old friend named Lester, who I was talking about earlier, who sets up a heist at a jewelry store. Initially, they plan on taking the Union Depository, but Michael puts aside the plan, telling that he wouldn't require this big thing. Finally, Michael, Franklin, and others successfully make off with the jewels and lay low for a while. Now, Michael actually made a statement which he was about to regret. Michael actually told to a guard at the jewel store, "You forget 1,000 things every day, pal. Make sure this is one of them." So, this eventually makes it to the news, and this is seen by Trevor in the outskirts of the city in Sandy Shores. Trevor is shown to be still alive and the leading meth dealer at war against a lost MC who inhabit neighboring areas. Trevor figures out that Michael was behind the jewelry heist at an instant and decides to travel to Los Santos to find his old pal who he thought was dead. Now he can't resist going to Michael, right? Trevor has also been sending letters to Brad in prison. Apparently, it was actually Dave Norton who was impersonating or giving him the impression that Brad was still alive. Before leaving for the city, Trevor attempts to make friends with Chinese mobsters and eradicates the remaining lost MC members as well as rival meth dealers named the O'Neills. That was a great mission indeed. Trevor leaves his right-hand man named Ron to oversee the business and takes with him a fearful follower named Wade who has a cousin named Floyd in Los Santos. Trevor takes over Floyd's apartment with his dominating nature and keeps it as his base of operations in the city. Trevor then reunites with the surprised and shocked Michael, and the two attempt to catch up in between the chaos of Michael's life, with his family issues going on. Michael's exploits do not sit well with the X5 agents who gave Michael his deal, and they force him to help cover their tracks as well as help the FIB against their rival government agency IAA. I don't know the abbreviation. Michael, Franklin, and eventually Trevor are brought in to help while keeping Michael's deal a secret from Trevor. Because if Michael goes, Trevor comes to know of Michael's deal, the next moment Michael thought he would be dead. With this written crime, Michael's family moves out for a while. They start thinking that He has quite turned into a maniac. Franklin continues to find more upskill criminal activities by doing extra work for Lester, who needs high-profile targets taken out. He is already the man behind the computers, Lester. Funds acquired lead Franklin to residing in a Vinewood Hills mansion bought by Lester. Franklin is greatly surprised by the thought of having to stay there because he didn't need to stay with his aunt anymore. He didn't like his aunt. Now, a step closer to the highlight, but Franklin still finds himself involved with street gang hustling led by Lamar. When Trevor expands his business by stealing an experimental super weapon from the government security contractor company Merryweather, which is led by Devin Weston, who will come to see about following. All is well until Lester forces Trevor to return it before they all end up at the top of the kill list because Merryweather was an extremely powerful agency. While acquiring persons of interest and funds for the FIB, the protagonists are introduced to the wealthy and powerful Devin Weston. He makes a deal that gets Michael, who loves movies and is a movie maniac too on the other hand, into the Samuel Richards majestic studio with producer Solomon Richards in exchange for Weston getting his hands on some rare cars with the help of Michael, Franklin and Trevor. So the prospect of his name showing up on the credits of the movie makes Michael do some odd things, and so he teams up with Trevor and Franklin to help Devin Weston get some great cars. So the studio is in short of its own problems that Michael needs to help Solomon resolve. He has to do other things to help Solomon. Madrazo also contacts Michael. Madrazo, the drug lord that Michael had jobbed the jewelry store to repay his debt. So he eventually contacts Michael since he needs help taking down a cousin that will testify in court against him with some files as evidence. Michael and Trevor succeed, but upon returning the incriminating files to Madrazo, Trevor kidnaps Madrazo's wife and forms a relationship with her. Both Michael and Trevor flee to Blind Country to hide from Madrazo. Back at home, Trevor continues his business, including stealing from Merryweather. Michael is extremely unhappy at Trevor doing this, and still having no other alternative, he decides to stay there with Trevor. When they hide out in the desert, FIB once again needs some extra funds for a raid on a lab used by the IAA and enlists Michaels and Trevor to get money. They turn to Lester, who sets up a small bank robbery in the countryside, the Palito Bay Score, which is extremely awesome. Franklin joins his friends and they pull off the heist, which is in no way as easy as they thought. It turns out to be a great gunfire. While stealing move items from Merryweather, Trevor and Michael find something of value that should set things straight with Madrazo, provided Trevor breaks his relationship with the wife and willingly returns her. Michael also promises Trevor that they will do a huge heist at the Union Depository in Los Santos, a heist initially that was said to be planned by Lester. Michael, Trevor and Franklin help the FIB raid the laboratory, and afterwards Trevor returns Madrazo's wife. Michael and Trevor safely return to Los Santos. Their situation sort of comes to an end. While Michael goes back to his empty home, Trevor moves his Los Santos base of operations into a club. Lester and the protagonists begin planning the Union Depository heist, but before they can move forward, Trevor figures out a disturbing truth that he needs to confirm, something which was hidden by Michael for the past 9 years. Trevor travels back to North Yankton, Ludendorff, the place, and digs up Michael's grave to find Brad's body below. That was some serious business by Trevor there. He's willing to go to any extent to ensure that he is told the truth. Michael then tries to explain without actually admitting the deal that he made before with Dave Norton and the other FB agents 9 years ago. The standoff in the graveyard is interrupted by Chinese gangsters who manage to capture Michael, but Trevor escapes. They hold Michael hostage thinking he's Trevor's boyfriend, but Trevor would rather they kill Michael. With Michael incapacitated, Trevor, Franklin, and Lama finish delivering Weston's rare cars, but instead of prompt payment, they are told the money is being invested for them instead and given out over time. This doesn't sit well with Franklin, who speaks with Lester to try and locate Michael, who knows Weston better. Lester then helps Franklin track Michael's phone to a warehouse in Los Santos. Franklin then kills off the Chinese gangsters and rescues Michael finally. The heat is getting hotter for the FBI agents and they need help one last time. Michael, Franklin and the others raid at the FIB building to steal some information from their computer. Information that could possibly drown the careers of Dave Norton and Steve Hines, the boss. The raid is a success, but Michael still needs to discuss Trevor's adventures with Meriwether to the agents at a later time. First, Michael needs to get his family back and then finish the movie he had helped create with Solomon Richards. Unfortunately, Weston plans to cancel productions and rake in insurance money for the investors, including himself. This was a villainous move by Devin Weston, and Michael at least didn't like it, as his dream had been shattered and they hadn't even got the payment for helping with the car business. The studio would also be turned into condo development. That was also part of the deal, which Michael absolutely hated. His passion for this movie leads him on a chase to get the film deal, which ends with the death of Weston's assistant. He is juiced by a flight engine. This angers Weston. He is raging up against Michael. The movie is saved, however, and Michael turns his attention back to the FIB. During a meeting at an arts center, the rest of the FIB as well as the IAA and Meriwether all intervene, turning out a big crap out. A huge shootout ensures, but Michael and his agents survive thanks in part to Trevor, who joins the fight. And guess why? Because he says, if anyone wants to kill you, my old friend, it should be me, not some FIB agent. Trevor and Michael make up and agree to a big heist. For time being, they stick up as friends. While things shape up on that front, Franklin is informed that Lama has been captured by a rival street gang in the countryside. Lama was also having some problems with Stretch, a guy called Harold Joseph, or Stretch. Franklin, Michael and Trevor now team up and help free Lama and return him to Los Santos. While leaving Lama's house, the FIB agents confront Franklin and tell him that he needs to take out Trevor, as they are extremely unhappy with Trevor's madness and maniac attitude. They tell him when. Michael goes to the premiere of this movie, but Weston has Meriwether raid his house and capture his family as a means of revenge for what Michael had done to his assistant. Although Michael didn't do it intentionally, his chase had ended in Weston's assistant Molly being used up in the flight engine. So, Michael, when on learning that Weston had attacked his family, speeds of that and rescues his family. He retakes the house with force and moves his family away for the time being. He comes to know that Weston is dangerous. With friends and family safe, the protagonists move ahead with the big heist at the Union Depository, the one that he had planned, the one that would eventually lead to the separation of Michael and Trevor as it seemed at the moment. Now, the LSPD and Meriwether put a good fight, but the heist is a success. All seems well until Weston shows up at Franklin's house. He wants Franklin to kill Michael, but Franklin says the FIB wants him to kill Trevor. Now, as the player, Franklin is faced with a choice. He either has to kill Michael, kill Trevor, or put his own life on the line and to try and save them all. So, initially I would explain the third alternative, Death Wish, as it is the most convincing and authentic ending to the game. So what happens is that if we choose to take Death Wish, we seek Lester's help, who gives a great idea. Lester calls up FIB agents telling that Trevor is the particular place. They arrive. Then he calls up Devin Weston's Meriwether team, telling that Michael is here at the place, at the warehouse, and Franklin goes there. Both Trevor and Michael are there. They are trying to kill each other. However, Franklin somehow manages to make them friends again for time being, and so the Meriwether guys, the FIB agents, all intervene, and it's again kind of a mass shootout in the warehouse. After they escape, they they now plan on taking out the enemies one after the other. So Michael first moves on to take on Stretch, Lama's guy. So Stretch does not know Michael, right? So he easily takes him out. And then Franklin moves on to take Wei Cheng, Trevor's business enemy. And so Franklin succeeds in it. Then Trevor goes on to take Steve Hines. He snipes him from a long distance in a TV show. And finally, after accomplishing his mission of uh, killing Steve Hines, he goes on to take on Devin Weston, the biggest man, who hasn't even paid off their death, and also he had arranged for Franklin to kill Michael. So Devin Weston protects himself with a lot of Meriwether guards, but Trevor easily takes them out and kidnaps Devin Weston and brings them via his car to mountain top. From there, the three friends push him off the cliff and bang, Devin Weston's dead. So with all the enemies dead, Trevor and Michael decide to stay as friends. And as Trevor put it, flawed, full, irresistible friends. Totally unmatched actually. So they stay together and this gives a more authentic ending. And the other two options, if you kill Michael, Michael's family members and others turn up against Franklin. And if you kill Trevor, Trevor's associates, Ron, Wade, all turn up against Franklin. So both these endings, I do not recommend having these as the permanent endings. The better choice you need to take is the death wish, as all characters get alive. So that's it for today, guys. I think I've covered the story pretty well. So leave a like if you enjoy this video. Comment on anything that I might have missed while telling the story, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to get notifications instantly. And finally, please share the video with your friends. Let them also enjoy the experience. Though it may be pleasure or not, but that's up to your view. Okay guys, I'll meet you in another video soon. Have fun.